Once again, this is a uh, Kings and Priests Biblical Agreements and Discourse, and I'm Ted King.
I'm Haji Pip Needs to be Grave King New Shoes Peanut.
There you go. And we're going to be readdressing what we were talking about last week. Um, for those who wanted to tune in, uh, last week in September, I can't remember the date, but a week ago from today, the day 5th of October. So that's the Discord, or that's our session today. So we'll get started, and I think we have a guest coming in, Mr. Yeah, praise him. Go ahead, sir.
Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. But lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. Praise Jesus.
Amen.
Yeah. So did you want to go to Mr. Chronicles 7:14, or did you want to go to
yeah, we're going to go to Mr. Smith. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. Yourself, gentlemen?
Doing fantastic. Yeah, we can go to, let's go to Leviticus Leviticus
26:14.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with that.
26. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Leviticus 26:14 through 17. And it reads in the name of Jesus. It reads in the King James Version. It says, "But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhors my judgments, so that ye will not do all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning anger that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. And ye shall show your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you." That's how it reads in the name of Jesus.
Okay, that's right. Okay, yeah. So right now we have a situation with the president. President is our president, which is Donald J. Trump. He is making a statement over the air that he has given the green light for Israel to go ahead and do in the Palestinians if they don't comply with the agreement that they put out. So these are the things that we need to be careful of because in this land where we live in, this America is the most powerful military force in the world. Of course, we have other countries that have the bomb as well, but the nuclear weapons. But the United States is still the most powerful.
Something's happening.
So anyway, so that's what we need to be careful of. By him saying what he said, it has a direct impact on the land in which we live in, which is of course the United States of America. So that is what we need to be um, aware of. Not only that, with what is also going on in the United States. This is pretty much what we need to be concerned about. Yeah. So if anybody has any comments, go ahead. And, you know, point of view. No.
Well,
Okay. Go ahead.
this is what I think. Well, just like you have to understand that the military, the world's militaries, as far as man's military is concerned, is not the most powerful thing that there is. Okay, there's things that can basically subdue the world's militaries, and it's in line with the power of God. But now, right now, there's so many ones focusing on man and not on God that they start to lose, shall we say, confidence in God and look at the multitude of man that's on the earth and how he has put forth these certain conditions. And I mean, we could look on TV and in the last week, we could see a little boat out in the ocean, you know what I'm saying, being blown to smithereens by the United States. And Trump saying, oh, well, there's a war against the cartels. And, you know what I'm saying, just blowing little bitty boats out of the water, which is not that difficult to do. But I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to put fear in other countries and have them to where they subject themselves to whatever the United States of America puts forward and whatever its force may be. Now, since he's been the president, I've seen quite a few bombings take place. He's only been the president for what, 10 months? Okay, and I've seen the bunker buster blow up some stuff over there where he said he was doing away with the nuclear arms. I've seen about 3 little bitty boats blown out of the water, you know what I'm saying, that he says is the drug cartels trying to bring drugs to the United States of America. And different other military strikes that they've done in different places. And to me, it's to where he's using our military to put fear in other people in other countries so that he could probably try to lure them to whatever he wants to happen. Just like you say, here it is, he's given the go ahead for some attacking to go on in another country. And it's like, in my opinion, he's sticking his nose into too many people's business. And he always says he's trying to put America first. That's where I'm at.
Okay. You have anything, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, when you mentioned about, I think Israel, Benjamin, the guy who's in charge.
Yeah. Now you talking about yeah. His name is not him. Not what's his name? Not Yale. I'm gonna tell you what his name is in a second. Israel Prime Minister. Hold on just a second here. Let me get it up here. I was going to something else, but we'll go there and talk about the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yeah, in 2001, he was on a TV show, and he said he could have the U.S. do whatever he wanted them to do. He can have them side with him, and since that he's running Israel, he's on trial. Oh, he's been charged with bribery, corruption, fraud, and that's pending in Israel. And then at the same token, he has bombed Iran. He has bombed Qatar, Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon. And the reason why he bombed them, because the U.S. is on his side. And he told the U.S. they want to get rid of the Gaza Strip and rebuild. He said that could be a real estate bonanza. Now, who in our country deals with real estate?
Donald Trump.
What politician deals with real estate? Well,
Donald Trump.
Well, that's under the table. That's the intent, to remove all those buildings and come in and have contractors reshape the Gaza Strip, and they're there for financial gains.
Right.
and he's the one that runs Israel. He's under a lot of pressure right now, and if he were to be reelected, they say he wouldn't win. But he's like the person that runs this country, facing a lot of criminal charges based on his involvement with politics. Now, his wife, she was accused of spending money that she shouldn't spend, and she had negotiated a deal to drop the charges. So when it comes to
Hmm.
Mr. Trump, he's in alignment with Israel,
Hmm.
and what they're doing to the Palestinians, Trump has gave him his approval.
Hmm.
And the
Right.
bottom line is, at the end of the day, all those buildings that were bombed, destroyed, removed, demolition that took place, they're going to require contractors to come in and rebuild.
Right.
And that's going to be a real estate bonanza.
But that's exactly right. Here,
Right,
let me read this real quick. Let me read this real quick. It says here, and this was uh, what the New York Times reported. It says for Netanyahu, Trump's nod to peace puts him in a tough spot. It says the Israeli leader thought he had a plan from the U.S. president that would have represented total victory over Hamas. Hamas. Suddenly, it looks as though he might not get everything he wants. And this was a article by David M. Hablinger, Hablinger, uh, reporting from Jerusalem. So this gentleman is reporting from Jerusalem, and this was yesterday, October the 4th, 2025. Although there has been some talk today, but this is let me read this real quick. This did not go the way Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wanted. On Monday, the Israel leader won a peace plan from President Trump that promised him total victory in the form of a take it or leave it message to Hamas. The militant group would have to release all the Israeli hostages remaining in Gaza within 72 hours, lay down its arms, and surrender any role in the territory's future. Or Israel would be given a free hand to pursue the group's destruction. And this is what they were talking about earlier today. Uh, I was listening to the radio. Okay, so on Friday, responding to a new ultimatum from Mr. Trump, Hamas announced that it was ready to release all the hostages, but it
right.
said nothing about how soon it would do so. Demurred on delaying down its arms and said it wanted to discuss the details of Mr. Trump's plan. Goes on further to say the Senator Lindsey Graham, a close ally of Mr. Netanyahu, this was in essence a rejection by Hamas of the president's proposal. He wrote on social media. To Michael Herzog, Mr. Netanyahu, the former ambassador to the United States, it was a no cloaked as a yes, he said in an interview. And I don't know what that means, but that's what it says. Yet Mr. Trump embraced the Hamas statement as an unqualified yes. Based on the statement just issued by Hamas, I believe they are ready for a lasting peace. He wrote on social media. Israel must immediately stop the bombing of Gaza so that we can get the hostages out safely and quickly. So all this is, of course, like you said, appears to be smoke and mirrors for this situation with Gaza, putting this new Gaza. Uh, anyway, there was a video on it on how they were going to change it to like a resort.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Finances. And,
yeah,
hey,
right, yeah,
going back to the guy who runs Israel, they got a thing called the Abraham Accords. Have you heard of that?
yes,
Okay, Abraham Accords. That's where the UAE, Sudan, Morocco, and Bahrain agreed that the Arabs should abandon their long-standing policy of having a Palestinian state. So there were four countries that went along with Benjamin, saying that because the Arabs were saying we have to agree upon having a Palestinian state, and there were four Arab countries who agreed with Israel, saying we will not accept that. We will not accept that. So that's his biggest accomplishment so far. The
Right.
Abraham Accords for Benjamin. And the bottom
Uh-huh.
line is, before the attacks occurred, he let funding go through to the people that who kidnapped the hostages. He let the
Uh-huh.
money go to them. I wish it was carloads of cash being delivered to them so they can devise tunnels under the Gaza Strip,
Uh-huh.
and that
There you
they
go.
have enough funding to attack and hold the hostages. And
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin allowed them to get the funding to do that, and then
Mm-hmm.
he attacked. Then,
Mm-hmm.
then the hostages attacked. I mean, they attacked, got the hostages, and they couldn't have done it unless Benjamin let them receive the funding from, I think it was Iran, who gave them the funding. So
Mm-hmm. Okay.
before all this took place, he knew what was going to go down. He wanted
Mm,
it to
right.
go down. That was
Okay.
his intent, to have it
Right.
all go down. And his bottom line is they want to get rid of all the opposition that opposes him to having a Palestinian state. To me, it was like when they got rid of the Civil War and they said, okay, all men are free. In the
Mm-hmm.
South, they said, we have all these slaves. It was a 10-to-1 ratio. For every
Mm-hmm.
slave owner, there were 10 slaves. So if you gave them the right to vote, then all these people who were slaves now have political power.
Right.
That's why we had 3/5 rule. And same thing
Mm-hmm.
with the Gaza Strip. If you give everybody power to vote,
Mm-hmm.
the Jews are outnumbered because there's more Arabs than there are Jews. So you
That's true.
cannot allow them to have equality in terms of voting, because if you do
Yeah.
that, then there are less Jews in numbers versus their
Mm-hmm.
opposition. It's just
That's
like
true.
with the United States and slavery. In 1860, it was a 1 to 10 ratio, one slave owner to 10 slaves. So
Right.
therefore, they say, "Oh, we got to change this," which is why
Right.
have they attach the criminal process to the political process. If you commit a crime, you cannot have access to the political process. That's why they put up all kind of laws to quell the strength of the recent freed slaves who now have strong political power. Same
Right.
thing happens in the Gaza Strip. If
Right.
you go ahead and have a Palestinian state and let everybody vote, the Jews would be the minority, so they can't do
Exactly.
that. Right.
Exactly.
So you
Yep.
have to
Right.
have ongoing conflict and struggle
Mm-hmm.
to deny the Arabs equality in terms of a political process, because the
Mm-hmm.
Jews are outnumbered.
Right. Exactly.
Let
Go
me
ahead,
say
sir.
this. Let me say this. Okay, well, just like when you were talking about the Gaza Strip, okay. Now, if you think back earlier on in Donald Trump's term, he was talking about, I think it was the Persian Gulf, no, the what is that, Panama Canal. The Panama Canal, he was saying he was going to take back the Panama Canal and different things like that. And see, in my opinion, this is just what I think, okay. Uh he's what he's doing is a lot of things that will probably offset the current state of the world to try to make it a one world order. Okay. And I remember when he was politicking before he became president, he says, well, if he was elected, a lot of the older people that's like in their 60s and different things like that, they won't have to worry about ever voting again. And I still don't know what
Well,
he meant by that, because it has
I think they had to do with. I know what you're talking about, but
mm-hmm,
it in that instance it had more to do with the evangelicals having to worry about voting again. But I mean, that I mean, I'm not saying that it didn't have anything to do with people over 60, because Donald Trump is well over 60. But what I'm saying is primarily that particular statement had to do with the evangelicals having to worry about voting.
I don't understand.
Well,
I don't understand that.
well,
That's something.
the evangelicals were having a problem with some of the things that were being said by Trump, and
Mm-hmm.
he assured them, well, if you go ahead and vote this time, you won't have to vote anymore. Like, for example, voting for something that's contrary to the Bible. So he said, well, if you vote this time, you won't have to vote anymore if anything else comes up that's contrary to the Bible. And that's basically had to do with the evangelical. Not to say that what you're saying, I mean, again, like, I don't know anything about, you know, all the aspect that you're talking about, but the aspect that I'm familiar with, had to do with the evangelicals not having some trepidation of as to how Donald Trump was going to proceed with this project 2025, and they had some issues with that. Yeah,
25.
yeah, and so he went ahead and said, sure. And well, this will be probably the last. This may be the last time you'll have to worry about voting. So that's what he was saying in terms of what we're going to take over. We're going to try and demolish democracy, and then we'll have this dictatorship thing going on, which is what he's trying to do. Today, now he's not even trying to hide anything, and this is part of this whole agenda. Was now, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try and appease Israel, and because we side with Israel as opposed to okay, so they have the terror, okay, first 5 books of the Bible, and
Terror.
yeah, right,
Okay.
yeah, right, yeah. Did I say that incorrect? Did I say it right? Anyway,
I thought you were talking about. I thought you were talking about the tariffs that he
no,
put on all
no,
these countries. You're talking about
yeah,
the terror.
right, exactly. Yeah, it's first 5 books in the Bible, and of course the Muslims, Islam has to do with the Quran. So that's the difference. Yeah, their holy Bible, the Holy Bible is of the Muslims. The Islamic faith is the Quran, the Quran, the Quran. So that's where that's all. That's where they're siding with people who biblically are into what some of the, not all the scriptures of the Bible, because they only adhere to the first 5 books in the Bible. But still, that's what they adhere to. Bible principles up to the first five books in the Bible. So, but anyway, this is what I wanted to go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and let you say what you had to say, Mr. Hazy. New shoes green. Go ahead and finish what you're saying, and then I'm gonna read this after you get done with your statement.
See, all I wanted to say was that, here with the Panama Canal, he was like, America's going to take back the Panama Canal from, whoever, the Panamanians, and different things like that. Now, I don't know whatever became of that, but, there's not a lot of talk of it anymore. But a lot of the things that he delves into, it seems like it has to do with things that are big, let's say, transport routes for shipping lanes, okay, right now, just like the Gaza Strip, just like the Panama Canal, different things like that. And I think that, he's trying to make it, like I was saying earlier, I think he's trying to make it this one world order to where, he's the dictator and different things like that. But another thing that came up since in the last couple of weeks is that there's people that's putting his mental stability on contest. You know what I'm saying? They've been having people that say, well, Donald Trump, we believe that the 25th Amendment would apply because he seems like he's a little deranged mentally. And so they're starting to push things in that direction. I don't know how far that'll go, but that'll be interesting to see how it concludes. But like this here shutdown, this government shutdown that's going on, I think I think it's kind of crazy, but you can't say that it's not you know something that might work out for him, because I think what he's trying stuff is like totally new and something different. Well, we're gonna just do it anyways. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to look at damn near his whole presidency as something new and something different. You know what I'm saying? A president with 34 felony convictions and stuff like that. It's totally new and totally different. So he's trying a whole bunch of new stuff.
Right. Well,
But yeah,
well,
you know what I'm saying? I think that
well, to that statement that you just made about the felonies, um, Mr. Smith and I had a conversation earlier this week about that, and it appears as though felonies doesn't stop you from becoming the president of the United States. I mean, there's certain things.
definitely.
There's certain things that statewide. I guess they can depending on what kind of felony it is, where they can take you off.
Ken, I was going to say, the audio seems to be kind of like messing up on my end. I don't know about your
I
end.
don't know, my audio was fine. Everything.
What about
A
you?
little bit. When you get a chance, some things I wanted to address, but yeah, a little distraction, But anyway, yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
but okay, so I'll just say this, and then I'll read this real quick, and then I'll defer from there. Um, um, okay, so just for clarity, this situation with felonies does not necessarily stop you from becoming the president of the United States. And again, we had that
That's
conversation earlier when Mr. Smith and I did a podcast. Earlier in the week. But I want to read this, and I'm going to defer right here. Okay. So in a national televised address Saturday night, Mr. Netanyahu did not reject the Hamas bid for negotiations. Rather, he made clear his desire to limit those talks to just a few days. In other words, he wanted to go ahead and he wants to act, as soon as possible if they don't adhere to what he wants. And his intent to retain the options to revert to military action in the event that Hamas balks at laying down its arms. Still, President Trump's call for the Israeli army to stand down immediately with negotiations to follow between Israel and Hamas could not have been welcomed by the Prime Minister. Mr. Ezion said these negotiations will be conducted under the conditions of a ceasefire, which is contrary to Netanyahu's design. He said Netanyahu wanted this all to take place under Israel military pressure. In other words, he needs the United States to help him put the military, action against Hamas to be able to, destroy them and to take over. So that's the problem. What's going on? We know that our cuckoo president, if he does that, then that's when we may, because he can't weaponize against another people just because of the fact that they adhere to 5 books in the Bible, right? They don't call themselves Christians, but they adhere to themselves, and then of course saying, "Okay, we side with Israel." Well, we should be siding with right, not anything having to do with any country. We should, side with how God wants things to go. So, from that, I'll let you all go ahead and chime in.
Okay, regarding on one issue, when you mentioned our prior conversation about qualifications to be the president,
Hmm.
I said that what Mr. Trump had done was open the door for people who have felonies to run for office. Now, to
Right.
be the governor of California, the governor of Delaware, the governor of Texas, if you have a felony, you're disqualified
Okay.
to run for office.
Right.
So what Donald Trump has done is said, well, I have felonies and I'm in a higher office than California, than Delaware, than Texas. So someone's going to bring that to court and say, if Trump could be the president, California does not have as much power as the president. California does not have as many people under his jurisdiction as the president. So we have to get rid of that qualification that disqualifies people from running for governor in California and Delaware and Texas and other states. And they're going to do that. And to run for office, you need the national political Democratic committee or the Republican National Committee. And with them, you have to be qualified. They got a term called turpitude. I think it's turpitude. If you do
More,
something
more,
that
more, 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 more turpitude. More
right,
turpitude. Yeah,
and
right.
that would
Okay. Mhm.
disqualify you from running for being selected because they have delegates that choose who's going to run for office.
Right.
And in the past, having a felony would provide negativity to your
Hmm.
selection to run for the office representing them. But
Right.
what Donald Trump has done is change that. And the
Hmm.
reason why I said that to run for office, you need money from people. Now,
Right.
Ted, if someone says, I'm going to run from office, but I only had 3 convictions for child molestation, are you going to give that person funding to run for office?
I'm
So
not.
that's why I said Donald Trump has opened the door. Well, I have all these convictions. And Donald Trump said,
Right.
I don't need your money. I have enough money. But at the end of the day, he's taking their money. So he's opening the door for people to be able to run for office because the states have all that restriction involving felonies for all kind of
Right.
offices. Now, if
Right.
the
Well,
highest office in the land can accept a person with felonies, then everybody underneath what that they may be challenged in court.
right.
Now the
Well,
and, go ahead and I was
okay.
going
So
to go ahead.
okay, so I just want to say, I just make this point right here. That situation with Donald Trump, he had the billionaires behind him, which is we hear the word oligarchy, and that's when you have a small group of affluent, you know, rich individuals come together to help a person with their agenda to, in this case, to be a dictator, right? So, these are oligarchs. In other words, like the Jeff Bezos and the Mark Zuckerberg and what I say, and Elon Musk. Those individuals, right? Those are the class that there's not they're being tagged as oligarchs, okay? Because they
Do
went
they have
ahead and
felonies?
they don't
Do
have
they have
felonies, but they have money. No,
okay?
they don't have felony. They have money to help
Right.
a felon. They help a felon get into position to go ahead and become the president. Now, also, you figure, well, okay, now they have to get the voters, right? You have to get the voters. Now, I don't have the video, but there was a very, very good uh, uh, a illustration. This lady illustrated how these why Donald Trump would get all these white votes. Okay, like for example, here's a good example. If I took a white man's car and he called the police on me, and the police apprehended me, said this is his car. I said, no, this is my car because he owed me money. They would make sure my story was correct, right? And they would make sure if my story didn't jive, I'd be in jail. And they might even put me in jail before I was able to explain my story. But if he took my car, which happened to me now, it happened to me. I'm telling you something that happened to me. Took my cars, all my properties, and said, "Oh no, he owed me money." Then they would say, the police would say, "Well, you don't have to take him to court." I have to take him to court. No, this is my car. This is not none of these cars in his name. This is my property. I don't owe him nothing, right? But they would go ahead and listen. 7 years, I ain't got my stuff back. Okay, 7 years, I ain't got my stuff back, right? So she was explaining that no, Donald Trump and those oligarchs are not going to help those poor white people get rich. But what they will do is they make sure they have more protection for police, more protection for get homes and loans. And yeah, they do all this. This is what she explained. And this is the reason why they she said they make them feel important. Okay, because they have certain privileges. For example, police come knocking on their door and see, oh, it was a disturbance, a big disturbance. Well, here goes a good example. He further went on to say, if that wasn't the case, how did all those people with insurrection, how were they able to now be walking the streets free? Or how were they able even to get to the Capitol, to go in there and cause all that chaos and walk away, be able to walk away and go back home without being arrested, shot, or killed, or whatever? One person got killed, we know that, but for the most part, all of them came in, did what they did, and went back home. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that is what her explanation is to how, when Donald Trump comes in and make these promises, let's make America great again. Let's take this agenda back to 1950 when we were 90% of the population. Yeah, that's how. Yeah,
yeah. But see, what behind all that is called the Heritage Foundation. That's
okay.
behind everything. And to give you an example, when they were against, they said, get rid of abortion, okay? And they want to get rid of abortion. That's not their true intent.
Yeah.
When you have a baby, were they involved with the process? No. God gave the woman the right to determine her fate with the child. And they
Right.
said, well, I'm pro life. I said, right. I said, if you say that they can't abort the baby, the next thing you're going to say is she can't get pregnant to have a baby. That's the real step. So once you open the door and let the head of the camel in, the rest is sure to follow. Everything Donald Trump does is by the Heritage Foundation. They're the ones that are backing him, telling him what to do to be a very, very conservative.
Yeah.
That's their position. I think they were 1980, and they said we have to go back. And what they really, I think what fear comes about is females. Black people are only 13% of the population. That's a
That's true.
very, very small. Females are 51% of the population. So if you tell a female, I'm going to take the right that God gave you, I'm going to determine your fate in terms of whether you can abort a child or not, I'm going to take that from you. I'm going to remove that power from you. And if you
Hmm.
use DEI, 51% are females. So
That's
all the
true.
people,
That's
if you
true.
look at all of the Fortune 500 companies, 555 only have females, which are 11%. If you use DEI, that means you're supposed to have 250%. When the guy went to the military and said, all we want is strong, healthy men, and females can't come through, get out of here. And now they're saying Apple, Google, all the companies saying you don't need a college degree like you did before. And why is that? Because more females are getting college degrees.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Right.
right.
So the bottom line is, well, we're going to lose our power base because if females start thinking and say, hey, we got more females than males, we could take over. So the males said, well, we got to change the rules. We got to
That's
make
right.
sure that we're in charge. And that's what DEI is. It doesn't have
Hmm.
it. When you, to justify it, you point to the minority. Look at black
Right.
people. They're not
Exactly.
qualified. It's not for them. That's a
Exactly.
smoke
Exactly.
screen. That's a smoke
Exactly.
screen.
That's exactly what that is. That's exactly what
Right.
that
The
is.
real screen is females. And once females get together and start thinking, if you go back in past, they said that, that Kirk guy, I listened to what he said.
Yeah. Charlie Kirk.
Right. And people tell me, well, he helped black people. He had some black people that didn't have anything. He helped them. And my reply is during the Confederacy, they had 300 black people who fought for the Confederates. 3,000 black people who fought, and they go to see black people on our side. So therefore, slavery must be condoned because we got
Hmm.
3,000 black people fighting for us. So
Right.
therefore, they use that to condone slavery. And what Charlie was saying is, I help black people. You see, so come on my
Hmm.
side. Come on my
Right.
side. But the
Right.
bottom line is, he said, I gotta get rid of the DEI. I
Hmm.
gotta get
Right.
rid of. I gotta let people apply to the colleges that's who been denied because you get more
Right.
minorities coming to the colleges. I said,
Right.
look on a historical basis, black people were denied for 200 years. So
Right.
now you're saying, well, they have a chance to catch up. I gotta
Right.
take that away. I don't
Right.
want to do
Exactly. Well, look at it this way, Mr. Smith. You you and I used to run track, right? And
it.
let's
Yeah,
say for example, let's say for example, um, um, I gave you my shoes, right?
what you
So
did in reality,
yeah. I gave you my shoes, and you decided that you know you're gonna run the 440 one lap around the track,
right,
and you took off, right? And I'm sitting here. I'm in this. I'm listen. I'm in got the same race as you, and you took off, but you took off with my shoes, right? I don't have no shoes, but I need shoes to run, right? And you couldn't even run a 220. I mean, to a 440. Let me just hypothetically speaking, you couldn't run a 440, but you were able to get around that track and get your lap in before you handed me back my shoes. In other words, you had a big head start, right? And oh, by the way, you can't expect me, right, to ever catch up because when you passed me my shoes, the race was over. You won, right? Yeah, the win. Yeah, you had already once you crossed the finish line and hand me my shoes, you won the race. So, in hindsight, we are so far behind, we cannot ever get into. I mean, based on how things are going now, we'll never be able to catch up, ever,
right.
ever.
But they say that out of difficulties, miracles
That is
rise.
true.
And the reason why Mr. Trump is saying what he said when you mentioned the Suez Canal, it's all about money. It's always
Right,
been about money. Plan to 2024, 25, it's about money. They want to reduce corporate taxes. They want to reduce individual taxes. If you go back in time in the 1920s, the rich paid 90% of their money to taxes. And the rich said, this is ridiculous. And back then, if you went to public service, you working for the public. You want to make sure they're okay. 2025, 3% of this country pays over 50 some percent of the taxes. The wealthy pay the taxes. Half the country, they don't pay any taxes.
right,
So when Ronald Reagan was in, it went, I think, from 43 to 39. Donald Trump took it from 39 to 36, and they want to
mhm,
make it lower. The whole
right.
thing is about money. And they said,
Absolutely.
why should we support people who don't have any money or people who have little money? You got to carry your own weight. That's why they want to get rid of the federal workers. They want to reduce the federal workforce because a lot of their money is going to the taxes, and they're the ones carrying this country. 3%, 3% of the people. And who's behind the Heritage Foundation? 3% of the people. Who wants to cut taxes? The Heritage Foundation, 3% of the people. And Donald Trump is their spokesperson. Now, I don't have any money, but if I was one of the 3%, I might say, that's right, cut my taxes. I want more money. If people with money, people with power, they want more money and more
Right,
power. So I understand where
right,
they're coming from. And they said, I pay taxes, and there's 1,000 people that sit on the behinds getting a check for my taxes, not doing anything, don't want to do anything, don't want to work, getting Section 8, and here I am paying 50% of my income to taxes to carry them. And they said, this got to go. So we
right,
got to reduce the workforce, which means the money that's going into the taxes to the general fund is most of it's coming from the 3%, the wealthy. And there
Right.
are sick and tired of people who are of color, who have no color, or whatever color they have, who are working and get money back. They're working and get money
Right.
back. And John says, I'm working, I got to pay the taxes. And they said, why? You're getting $20 million. And I feel like saying, well, the reason why Joe gets $20 million, he's running a company, he makes the decisions that they may lose $200 million. So his compensation is based on the consequence of error. When a doctor,
Right.
the reason why a doctor gets a lot of money, if he makes a mistake, the patient dies. So the consequence of his error is relatively high. That's what
Right.
pay. That's what your pay is based on. The consequence of your mistake. A secretary makes a mistake with a pencil, she gets an eraser. If a law enforcement makes a mistake, he could lose his life, and the person he's pursuing could lose their life. A firefighter makes a mistake, he could lose his life. And when it comes to law enforcement, people don't understand the cops. God works in a strange way. Cops said, I'm going to arrest all these black people. I'm going to shoot black people, blah, 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 blah. When that same cop who has discontentment, who has bad thoughts, when he goes to a crime scene and sees a head off of a body, sees an arm off of a body, sees a leg or disarmed, he's going to have that memory for the rest of his life.
Exactly.
As law enforcement, they're going to see things that they can't tell us, they can't describe to us when they go to a crime scene, see the results of a bullet wound, see how someone is bleeding, see how someone is screaming, see the negative side of humanity. They're going to keep those memories. So if they say, well, I'm going to believe the other guy's story, I'm not going to believe Ted's story. I don't believe Ted. I believe the guy that took his car. I believe his story. When that guy walks away from that scene, Mr. Ted, and the guy
Hmm.
goes home and gets a call, next day gets a call, he's going to come up to a scene and see a baby, a small child, a man, a woman. He's going to see things that human beings should not see.
Right.
That's how God works in terms of his judgment. He may have bad intent towards you, but when he leaves the scene, God said you can do two things. You can have kindness or you can have karma. That's the
Right.
bottom line. So all those
Right.
officers that did all the bad things to people that they shouldn't have done, at the end of the day, I won't see God's judgment. I won't see how God brought it back. But you can be assured that that man has a memory, and he's going to come across a scene that he's going to see that's going to be in his mind the rest of his life, and he won't be able to get rid of that memory. He won't give. He said,
Right.
"Oh my God, that how old was the child? She was 6 years. I got a daughter like her. I got a granddaughter like her. I got a cousin like her. I got someone that resembles that person at the crime scene. He's gonna put that memory in their brain,
Right.
and they're gonna preserve that memory because what they did to someone else, like with like you, Ted, you will maintain that memory that was done to you when someone took your car. They didn't believe your story." So you keep that memory. It was injustice that was done to you. That karma is going to go back to that person who put that injustice in you. You won't see how it plays out, but you can be assured God says a tooth for a tooth, eye for an eye, and He's going to determine which eye with tooth. Okay, we won't see it. We won't know anything about it. That belongs in the head. So when people do bad things to me, I said I can get upset, but I said, God, I trust your judgment. I trust you. And the Bible said to get forgiveness, you have to give forgiveness. Now, people have been doing bad things to me all my life. I can get upset, mad. As I got older, I said, the Bible says, forgive them. I said, okay, everybody in my past life, my current life, in my future life, if you did something bad to me, I will forgive you. So to get forgiveness, you have to give forgiveness. Now, there's two things: kindness or karma. Which one do you want? Which one do you want? So when I see someone who says, hey, look, someone says, sir, do you have any change? I said, how much do you need? Because that's God speaking to me through him and give me the tip. He wants in front of McDonald's who doesn't have any food. I said, are you hungry? 10 out of 10. They go, yeah. I said, what kind of food do you want? I'll take a burger right here. You go. They go, thank you. And I said, well, you're not the only one that had things done to you that was wrong. I said, I was at one time married, and my father, dad, went behind my back, went behind my back and did things that I don't even want to talk about. Do I get mad? Yeah, I got mad, but I said, God, I forgive him. I, my wife knew who she was. My dad knew who he was, and they both knew me. And when my back was turned, I forgive them. That's all I can do. And to give and to give forgiveness because I told lies. I told lies. To give you an example, I had a job where I got my hours training people to ride the bus. Okay. So I would go to their house and I would do an interview. If the parents wanted to show up, they would show up. And one girl I went to, I said to her mom, she has to catch the bus and leave at 6:35. Her mom said, she can't do that. She can't ride the bus. And I stood there, I looked at the girl. She looked at me. I said, I agree. Because for her to ride the bus, I got to get up at 4:30 in the morning, take a shower, leave my house at 5:20, get here at 6 o'clock, and have her and I walk her, leave her house at 6:15, get the bus stop at 6:30. Thank you. I'm glad you said she can't ride the bus. And guess what? Her mom said, I guess she can ride the bus. So I told her mom a lie. I only lived 15 minutes away from her. So I lied. Okay. Was it a good lie? Maybe, but I lied because I need to get my hours in to I had a job where you determine you get your own hours in. There wasn't a set schedule. And I had clients I would say, you want to ride the bus? They go, no, I don't want to ride the bus. They were in the facility for they had various disabilities. So I would go to the store next door, buy 4 cigarettes, 25 cents each. I said, let's go to the bus stop. I'll give you a cigarette. Like, okay, you get to the bus stop. I give them a cigarette. They smoke. Here come the bus. I feel pretty good. So we got in the bus and we rode. We rode to Southgate, to Flora Mall, to Sunrise Mall. They got Sunrise Mall. I said, have a seat at McDonald's. I go get them a McDonald's child's plate. I gave them a hamburger, a fry, and a soda. They go, are you going to eat? No, I got to do the work. Make them feel important. So after they get through with the hamburger at 12 o'clock, I gave them a cigarette. And then we ride the bus from Sunrise Mall to Arden Mall, back downtown, and get back to the facility, get off the bus. I give the 3rd cigarette. And then when they go back to the facility, I said, here's your 4th cigarette. So people at my job would say, how can he even train all these people? Who wants to ride the bus? Who wants to ride the bus? They go, Hemo, I want you to train people. I'm not training anybody. I'm not what I'm doing. I'm not telling you what I'm doing. So you
Right.
see, and like for example, Ted, you know at the laundromat where we're at, where you
Yeah.
I laundromat. Okay, you know where
Yeah.
McDonald's is right there next to laundromat.
I do.
Okay, like I would say, I gotta give Ted his bus pass, which is 2 blocks away. Okay, 2 blocks away. So I would take Ted, get him on the bus, and we go downtown. We go Arden Mall. We go Sunrise Mall. We go Florida Mall. We go Southgate Mall. We go and come back down to the McDonald's. And that takes my 8 hours away. You see? So instead of me walking straight to the bus, I go in the other direction. And it takes
Okay.
8 hours. I didn't tell them that, but they said, how
Right.
does he always get his hours in? You see? So that's the
Yeah, I
best
do.
job I ever had. And I had to have them
Okay.
fire me. They put me in the Hall of Fame. I had to have them fire me. But anyway, I told lies. So I said, God, it could be a good lie. But I told that lady's mom that I gotta get up at 4:30 in the morning. I didn't. I only lived 20 minutes away. But I told her that. So she said, wow, he's going to benefit from this. So I better let my daughter ride the bus. So I got my hours in. She got to her job because of a lie. And I told a lot of lies, a lot.
Mhm.
And people
Right.
said, you're lousy, you're a thief, you're a liar, you're a cheat, you're no good, you're horrible. And my response is, don't forget lazy. Don't forget lazy. And I walk away. That's how I deal with negativity. And I said, God,
I,
I've done the bad things that I'm not proud of. And God, if you can forgive me for what I've done, thank you. And God says, well, for me to forgive you, you have to forget what was done to you. And I said, everybody that had done anything bad to me in my whole life, I forgive you.
there you
I
go.
forgive you. And that's all I can say.
Mhm.
But in terms
Okay.
of Donald Trump is worried about one thing, and that's money. He said he's going to
That's
take
right.
Greenland. He said he's going to take the United Nations. He said he was going to bomb South Korea. All he wants to do is have fear. When you have fear, they had a Greyhound bus going down the street, down the highway. Robbers walked in. Guy put a shot off shotgun to a man's head. He said, I don't have any money. The guy pulled the trigger. The man pulled out $500 and said, here. So fear is how you get money. And
Right.
the reason why, Ted, they don't believe your story because the criminal justice system needs people to commit crimes. The lawyer gets paid, the sheriff gets paid, the bailiff gets paid, the judge gets paid, probation gets paid, incarceration gets paid, everybody gets paid based on someone's inability to act correct.
Right. Well,
8760, the number of hours in a year. So if you
right.
step on my shoes, I'm going to attack you and sacrifice 8,760 hours of my time so the sheriff can get paid, the bailiff can get paid, the can get paid, the judge can get paid, the lawyer can get paid, everybody gets paid
Mhm.
based on my inability to follow the rules.
Right.
And that's
Well,
why the criminal justice system, and Donald Trump, one last word, he's been to the court over 4,000 times before he became president. Over
right.
4,000 times. So he used the court as his shield. And everybody is innocent until guilty. So he just throws stuff against the wall and see if it sticks. See
Correct.
if it's, and he used lawyers, they call them wizards. Go
Hmm.
back to
Right.
Greece, a guy said, I can win on either side of the story. I can win on my
Hmm.
side, on your side. There was a basketball coach at
Hmm.
Indiana, Billy Knight. He said, I can win
Hmm.
with my team, or I can win with your team.
Right.
And Donald
Exactly.
Trump uses the political process, which every man is innocent until proven guilty. He uses the court system, and
Hmm.
sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. It's
Hmm.
like playing dice.
Right.
You throw the
Well,
craps. Either you get your number or you crap out. And
right.
Donald Trump did that for over 4,000 times
There you
before
go.
he became president. So he
Right.
uses the
Exactly.
same technique
Yeah.
as
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So
okay.
okay. So what we got here is we got a couple more minutes before we have to close the show before we get to an hour. I want to say that you know what they know in my case they believe me because they know I'm telling the truth because documentation says that the police report says that. Okay. With that being said, I'm going to pray us out. Heavenly Father, thanks again for allowing us to come to this platform to speak about your word to engage with. Beneficial conversation about how the world is going today. Please keep us safe from this tyrannical ideation that's going on these days in this country and around the world. And this we pray humbly in the name of all in all your prophets in your son's name and your bride, the earth. Amen. All right,
Amen.
folks. That's it. Amen.
Praise
Yeah,
the Lord.
okay. We'll see you on the
Praise,
next one.
praise
Yeah.
Jesus.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you. Good night.
Yeah.
Bye,
Thank
gentlemen.
you.